I mean, like, I remember,
Kyle Kinane.
it's cool that you wrote this book because I remember I moved to LA in 2002 and started stand-up that year.
Yeah.
And then slowly, I remember meeting all these guys, right? Like that, and you're like, where are you from? Chicago. Like, all,
Yeah.
and it was like this slow realization, like, oh, there's just like this crew, and you guys all kind of knew each other.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The scene was super small. Zany's was the only club on the north side, and they were like, "You guys don't even get an open mic." Like all of the clubs closed in '95 when like stand up stopped being popular. So there's one club left, and they were like, they did not nurture like a local scene. So everybody who was there probably to do Second City had to like start in bar shows, and there was like 50 dudes and 8 women. So that's why we kind of all knew each other.
Sure.
And then like when we moved, Bronger and Kyle had been out in LA for a while. So they kind of like knew us from going, but there weren't that many, but all of them, you know,
Were
kind
you
of.
guys tight?
Yeah.
So like when you got here, you're like, oh, I know, like Kyle and Matt have my back kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We owe them a lot.
Really?
Yeah. They were I know you through Bronger, I want to say, because you guys had done New Faces like around the time that I moved.
We did. I also vividly remember the first time that I met Bronger. He was visiting LA and it was at her show, your show at Tangier.
Oh,
He came in and he was like,
so
he was wearing a blazer and he had that big like smile, and I was like, who's this fucking asshole, you know?
Yeah.
Like, cause he was so like, hi, how are you? Know how like
Yeah.
he greeted like this big cheerful greeting, and I was
Yeah.
like, this guy's way too happy, you know? Like, I remember meeting him like that.
Yeah.
And he was super, you know, I became friends with him, but like I remember him coming to Tangier. I think he was like in town, you know, just checking it out actually.
Yeah.
And maybe asked for a spot or something.
Oh my gosh. And I remember because I wasn't Bronger on a TV show at the time.
Well, he eventually was
got on Mad
Mad
TV.
TV.
Yeah,
but that was
like,
later.
That was later. Okay, so I just heard that this guy was super funny and like he just had such word of mouth credibility, and he was just, man.
He would come back to Chicago, and like people would always be like, "You got to see this guy," and I would be like, "Okay," because like at that time, like Kumail was there, like T.J. Miller was like there, Pete Holmes was there. So when people would come back, like I wasn't impressed. He came back and he had this closer that he did like an owl impression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the owl bit.
And he
So
got a
good.
standing ovation.
God.
And this is like Chicago crowds were back in the day where if you said you were from Los Angeles and you went to Chicago, people were like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
of course. Everybody says
Like the
that.
whole crowd.
Everyone hates Angelina.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
pretty universally hated.
Yeah, across the board hated. But he came back, and so it was, if he or Kinane came back or John Roy came back, it was like a big deal.
Yeah, that's right, John. And then who's, because like, forgive me for not knowing, but didn't like you guys have somebody who everybody, like in this clique, who everybody was like, this dude's really funny, and he died?
Pat Bryce was his name.
That was his, okay.
Pat Bryce. See, we all knew TJ. Of the people that I was in this, Bronger and Kyle were a little ahead of me. And of my crew, like everybody knew TJ was going to be famous first. It was just, he had everything going. He booked like a pilot. He had everything going on.
I remember that too, because
Sames.
I had the same manager as TJ.
Yeah.
And I love this. I love telling you this.
Yeah.
So for people that don't follow, you know, in stand, I think it's actually calmed down now, but there was a time where you thought the biggest thing in the world would be to get the Just for Laughs festival
Right.
in Montreal.
Or Aspen at that
Or
time.
Aspen. And that everything happens there. And so when you get it, you're like, holy shit, like I'm on my way. Like this is what it is.
Yeah.
So I go to that in 2007, and I'm a part of the New Faces thing with Bronger, Nikki Glazer, I don't know, a couple other people that are in this thing. And there's different shows, so I'm not all on the same.
Bargatze's in yours or no?
Was Bargatze in mine? I don't think so. I'd remember that.
Okay.
But I'm in there's a lot of ride shares, right? Like transpose the whole thing at these like festivals that have cities. So
Yeah.
you're always kind of in the lobby at curbside, and there's a multiple vans, and they're like, "Are you doing this? You jump in with these people." So you're always like, because you don't know where anything is, right? And
Right.
Montreal's kind of laid out like
Also,
that.
if you're a new face, they hide you in a different hotel.
Yeah.
Really?
So everything is happening at the Hyatt or
Yeah.
like the main hotel. The new faces are like in a hostel, like blocks away from like this old
Freshmen.
period before people had the internet and like could just see these guys clips of them online.
Sure. So we're in this. I do one of the new faces shows.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I hope my life changes. Like you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm writing with my manager, and he's like, how did it was good, right? Good, yeah. And says whatever. Then he goes, who's going to be huge?
Oh my God.
Who's going to be a star? And I'm like, I go, who? And he goes, TJ Miller. He's got it. He's going to be I was like, good for him.
Yeah, what about me?
I was like, I'm riding with you, you asshole.
It's like that
just
scene
lie
where
to me.
George Shapiro like disses Orny Adams to his face and
Yeah.
the comedian.
Yeah.
But yeah, so TJ, we knew he was going to be first. Like it seemed like Kumail like was up there. But this guy, Pat Bryce, first of all, he was cooler than all of us.
Uh-huh.
Like all of us were big
Whoa.
dorks who like
No, you guys were like the cool kids. What you talking about?
not there.
Oh,
Yeah.
LA, yeah.
But Pat had like a natural coolness to him.
Yeah, women wanted to fuck him, and we all wanted to be him.
Uh-huh.
And he was the funniest. And then he passed away in 2007. I think that was the moment that a lot of us were like, fuck, like life is short. Let's fucking go to LA. So that's when you saw like a big wave of people like move out in like 2000.
Like, let's not waste time.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't doing comedy during 9/11, like right after. And I don't remember if 9/11 made me do comedy, but a lot of people were like, 9/11 made a lot of people be like, my job sucks. I could get, my building could get hit by a plane. I should go to an open mic. And I think that was like, fuck, that dude was like so talented and he didn't get to do it. So
How'd he die?
not sure. So when you don't know, it's never great.
Oh.
But
Really?
Yeah.
Not
Nobody
sure.
knows?
Probably somebody knows, but like I would guess drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would guess, but
'Cause if they're young,
He was
usually it's drugs.
he was 29.
No.
Yeah. So that was like devastating for the scene. He was like, people always called him like our quarterback, like,
Yeah.
and so
Everybody looked up to him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I always have really vivid memories of seeing Kyle Kinane for the first time and being like, who's this fucking guy? Like,
Yeah.
where is he from? Because he's not from here.
Yeah.
And I remember he had this silly joke. It was such like a throwaway. It wasn't even a full bit. He would take the mic cord, wrap it around his bicep, and he'd go, lifting spirits. And that just made me laugh so much. Like, he's just so silly. He was
Yeah.
so fun. And oh, God, I was so jealous. I was like, these Chicago guys
Yeah, he
are
was always
partying.
cool as shit.
Yeah. He's cooler than everybody.
Yeah, he has a cool factor for sure.
Yeah. And no one talks like him either.
No.
His voice, also his vocabulary, like it's kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
That like you realize you're like, oh, this guy, he's a reader.
Yeah.
He has
Big words.
Yeah.
That comes from all of those guys like Bronger, John Roy, Kinane. They would tell me about this guy, Dwayne Kennedy, that they all looked up to. And I kind of consider him like the Banksy of comedy. Across the board, everybody who's seen this guy, Dwayne Kennedy, is like, he's the greatest comedian of all time. Like Chris Rock was like, supposedly said he was the best guy in New York when I was coming up.
Really?
Sarah Silverman is like, he should be a household name. He kind of disappears from comedy from the late 80s, like appears in Chicago in like the mid 90s and kind of Yoda's these like young guys. And every now and then he'd pop up and do like a Letterman or pop up and do like a Kimmel. And people would be like, where the fuck does this guy do? Like to get him on a show, you had to fax his dad.
What?
Yeah. Like
Dwayne?
Dwayne Kennedy.
Sounds about right.
there he is,
Oh, there he
yeah.
is.
Really?
Sounds like a real comic.
Yeah.
That's how they all are. Yeah.
It was like one of,
Fax his dad?
yeah, like so this was a guy that he has a half hour on Showtime. He has Letterman's, but no one's heard of this guy and he doesn't want to be found.
Wow.
So it's like
Wild.
Is he still?
he'll do like the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago or he'll open for people. He has an Emmy for writing for Kamau Bell. Like just like this, so Hari Kondabolu and Kamau Bell forced him to put out an album in 2020, and it's called "Who the Hell Is Dwayne Kennedy?" And so it's like one of those things that if you know, but
I gotta listen.
So this was I want to check
now
it
I
out
want
too.
to download it.
this was the guy that Kinane bombed his first time going up, or he thought he bombed, and this guy took him aside and was like, "You should keep doing this." And he was like, "Well, fuck, if that guy told me I have to
Really?
keep going, then I do."
Those are like the comedy angels, you know,
Yeah.
when you're starting out, and it just takes that one upperclassman to say something remotely positive
Right.
to you, and it changes your whole life. It's so cool.
And you remember those compliments like
Forever.
Forever. Yeah, they stay with you.
Like if
forever.
either one of you walked up to some open micer and were like, "That was great," like, or "That joke was funny," they will remember that the rest of their
For being
life.
like, that's unfunny, bitch. The stupid bitch. Who? Wow.
Oh my god. And then Hannibal.
Hannibal. Of
Yeah,
course.
came from that.
Came
crew
from that
too.
scene.
You guys
yeah.
had such heavy hitters.
Yeah, I
Beth
remember
Stelling.
Hannibal
Stelling's
also.
from there, right?
Yep, and Cameron Esposito is also.
Cameron.
Hannibal
Yeah.
hit the scene though.
So good.
Well, you
Pete
you know the
Holmes.
origins of it, but what I remember is just somebody being like, "Hey, did you see this guy on?" It was like Letterman or I don't know, one of the late night shows.
Yeah.
So I saw the set and I was like, "Wow, that's really funny." Like it was like, "This is really funny."
Yeah.
And then I was in Melbourne, Australia with him doing the Melbourne Festival,
Yeah.
doing the shows every night. And then everybody, so we were on the shows together.
Mm-hmm.
It was him, me, and Moshe Kasher. And people would come up to us and be like, "Hey, have you seen that guy, Hannibal? He's great." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm on the show with him."
You know who's going to be huge?
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then people would be like, "Oh man, I saw a Hannibal set last night." And I was like, "That means you saw my set too." And he was like, just.
Do you know how many times in my life
murdering.
somebody's walked up to the feature and I could hear them and been
no.
like, "You should have headlined."
Oh yeah, of course.
That's like, I think don't you always, or the worst is when you go pee and the audience is there.
You
and
can hear 'em
hearing how
talking.
much they hated you. You're like, thank you.
I actually think it's almost worse though when you feature and someone says it to you and you know that you're like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
man. Like shut up.
You're right, but shut
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah,
up.
yeah. Pull me aside and tell me that.
Yeah. This feels
God.
shitty.
Yeah, it feels bad. Yeah.
Even well, this is just my insecurity, but like let's say I sell out like a big venue, and then the guy always, the booker, will be like, "Yeah, you know who did 2 sold out shows though." So and so. You're like, "God damn it!
It never ends for you, even
You
for-
fucking cunt! Like, let me have the one thing.
Yeah.
You fucks.
Treat me special today.
Yeah, just pretend. Or like, you know who was really fun last week? Bert Kreischer. And you're like, "I know I'm not fun."
Did
They
you
say that
see,
to me. They still say that to me.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sure
they-
you get that.
I did something and they're like, "This is great. 2 shows at this venue is incredible." And then you're like, "Oh, awesome." And they're like, "Chappelle did 6."
Yeah.
And you're like, "You mean
Yeah,
the
we know.
biggest comedian of all time?" Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for
it.
pointing that out to me.
Yeah.
I'm not number 1 all time.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's always someone better.
When Hannibal started, he got New Faces in 2006. So he Robbie Praw, I've talked to him about this. So Netflix's Robbie Praw saw in Hannibal before like anybody. He got it before all of the people that we mentioned. So it was kind of like a shock for people at that point that he was, because he wasn't considered one of the best at that point, and he got so good so fast that it kind of shocked people.
Yeah. I also remember specifically this thing, which I also thought was wild, and it came true, which is we were walking around Melbourne, and we spent 2 weeks together. We're doing these shows for 2 weeks. We're talking about just what's next kind of thing, and I was like, "Yeah, I really want to get the Presents, which is the half hour, the Comedy Central half hour special, like because that's the next step." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Don't you want to do that?" And he was like, "I think I'm just gonna skip that and just go straight to an hour." And I was like, "What? Like who? How can someone do that?" I really was
Yeah.
like, "How can somebody?" I was like, "Really? Like, isn't that a crazy idea?" And he was like, "Mm-mm." And then,
And then he did it?
And then he just did it. Yeah.
He's like, I think I'm
was
going to
like,
ruin Bill Cosby's life.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can I tell you something? I was in Amsterdam recording something with Bert Kreischer, and Hannibal,
Brett.
a few other comics back in the day for Showtime. And I remember we did like warm-up sets the night before you tape. And I don't know if you know this, but English is not their first language in Amsterdam. So I was like, dude, this is fucking bomb city. Like, we're just going to eat dicks. And of course, I eat fucking dicks. Everyone's eating dicks. Hannibal Buress does not eat dicks.
Really?
And he got up there and he was talking about you eat a sandwich and then you take the pickle juice and then they sprinkle the pickle juice on it. And the people were just like
Losing their
falling
minds. Yeah.
down. And this is like in another language. This guy is crushing.
He's
Do you know
going
what I'm
slower.
saying?
Yeah.
Yo.
The first time I saw him destroy, it was still new to me. I still hadn't seen him have like a killer set. And he went up at Zany's and he's like, they have a chalkboard at the fire station. He's like, so what do they do there? There's a fire. You got to put water on the fire. And it's it was just like people were falling like out of their seats, like smacking the, and he had done like, it was a guest set too. Like it wasn't, there was
It's super slow cadence.
super slow. And
yeah.
they were just
Gosh.
like, slow down everybody.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Cause you also
slow
see that
cadence.
the nervous comic or the comic who's not solid in their stuff goes fast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, let me run through this and hopefully you'll laugh. And they get louder and crazier.
Yeah.
And then like people like, cause that Ron White thing, right? Ron is like,
When you're doing bad, slow down. When you're doing good, slow down.
and it's
Great.
But it's great. It's especially great if you know what you're doing. You know, when it's good.
The crowd
it's
wants
better.
to think that you're driving the bus.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's like a Eddie Brill thing too. He would like, if you think you're going too slow,
that's right.
slow down.
Oh yeah, Eddie Brill used to say that.
He had a
That's
thing like
right.
that too. Yeah.
Well, you think about it too. We don't entertain people. We don't entertain theater goers. You're entertaining drunks. So when you think about you think about when you're drunk, you're not processing. And these people are sometimes getting fucking wasted.
You gotta
bro.
give it to them how they can consume it.
Slowly, especially in the South, you gotta slow it down. Just culturally, get a little slower.
Ooh, hey Jeans, did you enjoy that highlight? Why don't you have one more click of fun around here? I don't know. Click here or here or here. Try it out. Have more fun. Why don't you subscribe? That way, every time a video drops, you can be notified. You can send it to your grandmother. You're not going to miss a moment of denim, okay? Try it out.